Hello, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. I know this subject is a little late to the conversation, but I thought I should still talk about it. We had a little issue with getting a video up about this conversation last week. So I'm in an attempt to give you this information. I'm doing it now. And I know it's a little late, as I said, but please bear with me. I'm calling what happened Operation Baldwin Rust. Now, we know by the malpractice media and the alternative media, they have covered this ad nauseum. So I'm not going to go over the general facts that most people have talked about. But what I'm going to talk about is a few things that were mentioned but weren't highlighted. First of all, facts, ladies and gentlemen, that this incident happened on the 12th day of a 21-day shoot for the movie Rust, which is about a 13-year-old boy and his estranged grandfather on the run. This incident happened on October 21st, 2021. Alec Baldwin was the person who fired the weapon. Now, I want you to listen, ladies and gentlemen. Alec Baldwin, AB12. There's your 12, ladies and gentlemen. Please, if you've been following us for any duration, you know we've covered some code around the 12/21 dates, and I'm going to show you what happened that day. It was telling certain groups and people that the next phase is underway. Again, Alec Baldwin, 1-2 or 12, happened on the 21st of October. It was the 12th day of a 21-day shoot. Let me continue. It was a story of a 13-year-old boy, and it was being shot in October 2021. 13-year-old boy shot on 10/21. October 2021, or 3/1. 21 plus 10, 31. Now, there were two people shot by one gun. Two people shot by one gun, but they highlighted Helena Hitchens. Helena's name just happens, just by coincidence, to have plenty of code in here. Her first and last initials, HH, or 88. Keep that in mind. We're going to stick that to the side for a moment. Helena, if you remove the 8, the A and the L equal 13. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. The Y, N, and A, Y is 25, 25 is a 7, N is a 14 or 5, and then A is 1. 7, 5, and 1, 13. What a coincidence. Now we go to her last name. Again, we took the H and we put it aside, ladies and gentlemen. And you have a U, which is the 21st letter of the alphabet. There's your 2, 1. Then we have a T and a C. Well, T's 20, C3, 23. Now, I would refer you to Mr. Cat Eye on YouTube, but he's no longer there. So please go to his Rumble page, and he'll explain to you what that 23 really means. Now we'll continue. The 8 and the 9 are a 17, broken down. You could go to an 8 if you really want. You don't have to, but we left it there for you to see. N is a 14, which of course is a 5. We've covered that. S is 19 or 10 or 1. Now, 17, 5 and 1, 23. Do you want to do the rest of the math yourself, ladies and gentlemen? Just doing some interesting things there. There's a little chart below that if you want to follow along on the website. Now, a few things that I want to bring to note, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, her initials were HH, or 88. We'll keep that in mind just for the purpose. After leaving her initials out, we've already talked about the 13, the 21, all that good stuff. Now, for pure academic purposes, ladies and gentlemen, because I am not telling you the next things that I'm going to discuss are days of importance. We're just doing this for academic purposes. 8 and 8, 16. Well, what does 16 days after October 1st, or 21st, I apologize, is November 6th. What does that mean? I don't know. We'll see. Now, because I am a fan of flipping numbers over, very much like the masters of reality like to flip things in their codes, I just flipped the 1-6 over just for the sake of it, and it has a 19. 19 days after October 21st is November 9th. Now, both those dates have been brought up by others, as well as yours truly, as dates that might hold some significance. Other people think some big thing's going to happen, and as we try to discuss with you, these are just stages. They move to the next phase. And I don't know. Again, we're just doing this for academic purposes. I don't know if any of these days are significant. But the number 23 came up. So just for sake of argument and the academic fun we're doing here, 23 days from October 21st is November 13th. Isn't that odd? Now, the 33 came up also, as you saw in the chart above. So 33 days from October 21st is November 23. Interesting. Now, we brought up the dates of December 1st, and we've also brought up the number 41 a few times this year. And it just so happens to be that 41 days after October 21st is December 1st. 49 days, which 4 and 9 is a 13. Just to have a little fun, we're having a little fun here. Just happens to be that infamous day of December 9th. We've talked about that, the significance of that day, or possible significance of that day in some past episodes. Feel free to go back through our archives to find that. So 8's come up and the 13's come up. So what would be the next 8 is December 13th. So the 8 and the 1-3 are together. Interesting. The 13 and the 9s are together. 61 days after October 21st is December 21st. And we talked about the significance of 61 and 16. And we had the 16 on the 16 days was November 6th. Now we flipped it a different way, basically. Instead of 16, now we got 61. And December 21st. Notice how these numbers, we're not making these up. You can double check all this yourself, ladies and gentlemen. The sheer coincidence of all these numbers working out the way they are is crazy. Now remember, we've been talking about 8. So, of course, if we got 61 days, which is the flip, what's the next 8? Well, that would be 71 days, right? 71 days. I guess you could, 62 days. I didn't even check that, but that was the 22nd. That could mean something. But 71 days is December 31st. half that 8 that we were talking about way back a year ago. Remember we talked about 13 and 31? We talked about that earlier. And one more important date that we've had in 2021, and that would be January 20th. That was the day Joe Petto administration took over. Well, that is 91 days, or 16 flipped over and then flipped again. I don't know, I'm just having fun, is January 20th. Interestingly enough. One other date of note that I would bring up, maybe November 4th, because there's your 41 that we saw earlier, the one odd number that I brought up some months back, but it came up for December 1st. If you flip that to 14, that's November 4th. Again, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know what any of these mean, if they have any significance to anything, but the sheer coincidences that all the numbers that popped up in the incident, the Operation Baldwin Rust, we don't want to say too much, but Operation Baldwin Rust, all the numbers that we had shown were present, if you translate them to dates, all are coincidentally mirroring other numbers that also came up. I have no idea, ladies and gentlemen, what's in store, but I do know December is going to be an interesting month for all of us. 12/21. And with the supposed deadlines of 11/22, which just happens to be 33 for federal employees, and an article talking about how there are some people starting to realize what's going on, and it may be too late for that, and we'll leave that somewhere for you to read, probably on the website, because we're watching what we say here and what we post. But when you look at all this, ladies and gentlemen, in a sheer academic viewpoint, the numbers, the odds of the numbers, all the numbers that came up, the 12, the 21, the 13, the 31, the 8, the 16s, all coming up with other numbers, matching other numbers that also came up. From here to January 20th. I don't know what the odds of that is, ladies and gentlemen. One might speculate that those are calculated out by someone and are timed out just perfectly, so it all works out that way, the way they want it. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, please let me know what you think. I know it's a little crazy, a little strange. We've discussed the coding here. We've discussed 13, 21, 12, all that for over 18 months now. So the ones that have been watching from at least the last 2 years are well aware of what we're discussing here. Anybody new, you'll have to go to the website www.jaylabang.com and read through all our past articles. We have an article associated with this as well. We'll leave that in a link. And you can also go through our YouTube channel, through the archives, and find all those sort of things out. Pretty easily figured out. Thanks for watching, ladies and gentlemen. Again, let me know what you think, and we'll see you next time. Later.